Greetings. This is Cannabis and Conspiracies. I'm the conspiracy. He's the cannabis. Sometimes he helps with the conspiracies occasionally.
We flip flop.
Anyway, we flip flop. Yeah.
Well, actually,
Anyway.
you don't smoke weed.
No, I don't. No. So
Supposedly, in theory, that's another conspiracy. Does Bunny smoke weed?
I do not.
It's kind of strange that you hang out with a lot of potheads for someone who doesn't.
Well, you guys kind of like gathered around me at some point, you know, and I kind of adopted you, so I'm kind of stuck with it now. So it is what it is. Anyway,
We're already getting high. Look at this. Look at you started.
Yeah, well, whatever. Enjoy. There's Kate and Mrs. Good Stuff. Hey, ladies.
Yeah,
it's an all lady affair right now. No big deal. Anyway, today we're going to talk about one of the most powerful artifacts in world history. If you believe biblical accounts, which I personally do, this is like the presence of God on the human plane was located in this thing. So you're talking about God's power being so powerful that he said it would vaporize anyone that looked at it directly. So when he showed himself to Moses, Moses had to hide in the cleft of the rock, and God had to like pass by him indirectly, and all he could see was like the regal train of God. And when he came down from Mount Sinai, people couldn't even look at him. He was glowing so bright. So that's the kind of level of power we're talking about when we talk about the Ark of the Covenant. So anyway, got a few people over there right now. Got Kate in Orlando. This is Good Stuff. Looks like Jason Black showed up today. So I'm going to get definitely go get fact checked, which I welcome.
Yes. Live.
That man's way too smart. Anyway, no big deal. How dare you, sir? Spits on the ground. Oh, okay. All right. No big deal. Anyway, double pew pew T-Bunny. I got the ladies mad at me. Okay. It is what it is. All right. So we first hear about the ark in the book of Exodus in the Bible. Right after the Ten Commandments came down from Mount Sinai, and when Moses got down to the bottom, he saw that the Israelites had like descended into like calf worship, and golden calf, and they're like worshiping it, which is Baal, basically Baal. And so, he leaves them for a little while, and he comes back down, and the son of a gun, they're already descended into worshiping other gods. Just messing with you. I know you are. That's fine. Shared it out to everyone. Hey, Kate, thank you.
To all her simps. They're all coming.
All right. Awesome. Bring them in.
Florida man.
Well, fortunately, there's no beer keg anywhere here, so we should be safe from Florida, man. Anyway,
Hojo's ready. I think he's in the shed.
Yeah. There you go. But he got mad, and so he threw the Ten Commandments down and broke them, and so he had to go right back up to Sinai and had to get some more.
He broke them?
Yeah. First, the Ten Commandments were broken. He got mad, he dropped them, kind of like,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he slaughtered everybody that was like had fallen into a worship of from idols, and the only one tribe stayed honest, so the Levites became the new priesthood. Anyway, got nothing on the ark. Okay, hey, I'm safe. All right. Well, we will talk about that later on. Thank you, Jason. Anyway, for the spoiler. But anyway, so the next thing you know, part of the conversation that Moses had with God was the establishment of the Levite order, the establishment of an organized form of religion, because evidently the Israelites were ready to worship something. Ah, we lost Belmont. No big deal. I'll keep going. But so the Israelites were were oh, are you back, man? Yep. Yeah. Oh, that's a
I'm
little.
here. Don't worry.
It's no problem. No problem. No problem. Uh, so on the right now, I'm on the left. Okay, I have to rearrange. All right. So so basically, he uh, so the establishment, part of the establishment of the religious order, is signing the Levites as the priesthood, because they stayed during the whole idol worship thing. They stayed honest and stayed in the pocket, with God. Um, Aaron, his own brother, basically fell into it along with them. So, that say much for Aaron. Anyway, Kate says you got lost in the
Yo,
smoke.
Edwin's here.
And Mrs. Good Stuff says you were struck down by God. So no, he's back. He's back. Anyway,
Yeah, I looked at the background directly into it, into
yeah,
the ark,
yeah.
and then
As
it
long,
I
as long
left.
as he doesn't lean back too far and actually touch it, he's fine. Anyway, so the ark was made of acacia wood, covered with gold. It was let me get the exact dimensions here. It was 131 by 79 by 79 centimeters, or 52 by 31 inches. And it was the had a crown molding of gold that put around it, 4 rings of gold attached to 4 corners, 2 on each side. Through the rings were staves of acacia wood overlaid with gold for carrying the ark, and not to be removed. And golden lid, the caporet.
You mean like this?
That's the one. That's the one. Which is translated as mercy seat or cover, and is ornamented with 2 golden cherubim to place above the ark. Missing from the account are instructions concerning thickness of the mercy seat, so we don't really know what it looked like. Details about the cherubim. Other than that, the cover can be beaten out over the ends of the ark, that they formed a space where God will appear. The ark is finally to be placed under a veil to conceal it. So, and that's placed into a tabernacle, which is also very specific. So that's pretty much their place of worship and the object of worship. Tabernacle has the place where people can gather. That it has a inner sanctum for the priest, but then it has this little small place called the Holy of Holies, which is where God dwells. And if you don't like prepare yourself to go in there, if you don't like do 100% what's required of you to enter, you'll be struck down, which happened multiple times. And there was like a group of guys that went in there and burnt the wrong kind of wood. They didn't do the prayers. They just walked into the Holy of Holies and thought that they could, be in there. And they got burned alive when they went to burn the incense on the wood. It was the wrong kind of wood, and they got burned alive. And they basically, so they didn't get struck down. They drug them out of there. They didn't even go in to get them. They drug them out. So we're talking about a lot of power here. We're talking about a very powerful artifact, which is Kokoshuko Papashango thinks it's radioactive. Well, there's too many people that were able to carry it with no ill extension. Anyway, soldier died from touching it, trying to save it. Okay. Kate, Orlando, that's a little later on. But yeah, that happened. Okay, got people jumping the story here. try to keep.
You got everybody joining here. Hold on, we got good stuff.
Yeah. Fanta's
Oko
here.
Shoko, Shuko,
Kokoshuko Papashango.
Papa Shango.
Good stuff.
Papa be good.
Who got drugged? Oh no. Here we
It's
go.
in Ethiopia.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. That's one of the theories. Anyway, all right,
And no
all right.
smoke
Now,
came up in here. He's here.
yeah. So when they moved, Israel moved, the Holy of Holies, the temple had to be broken down a certain way. The priest had to carry the ark before the Israelites. It's really odd configuration because most of the time you had people like that at the rear or protected, but the priest actually had to walk up in front of the Israelites, carrying this thing, and which is a big old chest full of chest of gold. So not very light, but so there's a few things that happen along the lines. You know, you got a lot of crazy theories going on over there. Anyway, King Arthur is never attached to the Ark mythology, guys. That's fake news. Anyway, so one of
Where
the
is the holiest of holies located?
well, it was located in the temple, and it later got moved to located in the tabernacle, and then it got moved to the temple when they moved into the temple. Uh, but gosh, man, why do I bother? Why do I bother? What am I doing here? Anyway, all right.
Dr. Jones! Dr. Jones!
Pay no attention to anything coming out of the good stuff. Pay no attention. Okay.
Okay, we were at Holies of
Okay.
Holies or whatever.
All right. Okay, holiest of holies. All right. Anyway, so when they moved, they broke down the tabernacle. The priest had to go forward with it. There's several things that happened. Okay. One of the things that happened was they were going to cross the Jordan River. The Jordan River was at that time at its height. And they had to cross it. It was pretty impassable. And so the priest they were told to go through with the priest, and the priest stepped on the Jordan River. As soon as their feet touched the Jordan River, it parted. Okay, and the Israelites went on to the other side. And so the artifact was indeed God's power on the earth, because God did it with the Red Sea. Having this. But the ark did it with the Jordan River. Well, not the ark itself, but God's presence through the ark. And so there's also a different sound on my awesomeness. Yeah. That's okay. That's okay. I'm sure it's a low hum there. Yeah, probably not. Probably not. Anyway, so another incident. After they entered the promised land, there was a big old city there called Jericho. Which was basically the biggest city in Canaan, and it was like the capital. And to actually kind of get into Canaan, you had to take the Jericho down. And so they, for 7 days, they walked around it once. The ark, they just carried it around the ark, and then they went home or went back to their encampment. And so 6 days they did that, and preceded by armed men, 7 priests. And then on the 7th day, they went around it 7 times, and then played ram's horns, also called the shofar. And all of a sudden, the big gigantic Jericho walls came down, and they were able to take the city. Pretty much murdering the hell out of everybody that was in the city, except for Rahab the harlot, who was kind to the spies. So she became an Israelite after that. I think there's an unearthed bit found under Jerusalem in the tunnels, which is theorized the spot where it hidden. At one point, we're getting to that. Okay, thank you. All right. Did Cain make Canaan? That's an entirely different discussion, entirely off subject. But thank you for advancing a theory. Didn't the Nazis all burn up when they opened the ark? Yeah, they did. It's
Let's
rumored
take
to
a
be
good
in a
look at this
tunnel. Yep.
ark.
All right. Let's take a look. What we got?
And they shall make an ark of acacia wood. 2.5 cubits shall be its length, 1.5 cubits its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. And you shall overlay it with pure gold. Inside and out you shall overlay it, and shall make on it a moulding of gold all around. You shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them in its 4 corners. 2 rings shall be on one side, and 2 rings on the other side. And you shall make poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold. You shall put the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark, that the ark may be carried by them. The poles shall be in the rings of the ark, they shall not be taken from it. And you shall put into the ark the testimony which I will give you. You shall make a mercy seat of pure gold. 2.5 cubits shall be its length, and 1.5 cubits its width. And you shall make 2 cherubim of gold, of hammered work you shall make them at the 2 ends of the mercy seat. Make 1 cherub at one end, and the other cherub at the other end, and you shall make the cherubim at the 2 ends of it one piece with the mercy seat. And the cherubim shall stretch out their wings above, covering the mercy seat with their wings, and they shall face one another. The faces of the cherubim shall be toward the mercy seat. You shall put the mercy seat on top of the ark, and in the ark you shall put the testimony that I will give you. And there I will meet with you, and I will speak with you from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubim which are on the ark of the testimony, about everything which I will give you in commandment to the children of Israel.
There you go.
Deep, Bunny.
I didn't know you had that video, man. I could have saved me reading all this crap, man. You could just play the video. Anyway.
Yeah. Then we have to have meetings and discuss the show. I like to wing it. You know?
I know. All right. Anyway, besides I wasn't here very early anyway. So all right. So they dropped Jericho. That's one of the things that happened. The next time we hear the ark, it was being cared for in Bethel, where it's being cared for the priest Phinehas and grandson of Aaron, according Aaron, I think. Anyway, according to this verse, was consulted by the people in Israel, where they were planning to attack the Benjaminites, and is later kept at Shiloh, and in north of Bethel, and it was carried. It was cared for by Hophni and Phinehas, 2 sons of Eli, but they weren't. Basically, they God was not pleased with them, and they took the ark into a battle, and the ark was captured by the Philistines, and they were murdered or killed, and so the ark was lost. Eli, upon hearing that his sons were dead and the ark was lost, was sitting in a chair. He was an elderly man, and he fell backwards in his chair and died, so it is what it is. Anyway, so the ark was.
I want to die in my sleep, man. Not like that. Fuck.
I will. According to biblical narrative, he was taken into Israel. I mean, Philistia. Anyway, then the Philistines were. So the news of that, okay, but it said that the glory of let me see, but a daughter-in-law buried a son at the time of the news. Ark's capture named him Ichabod, which means the glory has departed Israel. You imagine having to carry that name around. Anyway, so and his mother died at his birth. Oh my God! So
man,
what a blighted kid that was. Anyway, so they took it to Ashdod, placed in the temple of Dagon. Okay, I don't know if this is like a rebuilt one from where Samson collapsed the temple, but this is later on. But every time they came back in, the statue of Dagon was found bowed down to the ark. And every time he was found, they restored him to his place. You know, they had to pick him back up and restore him. And then the following morning, he's found again prostrate, but this time he's broken. And so they were like, they're also in Ashdod. They were smitten by tumors, plague of rodents, and a plague was over the land. Some people think that's the bubonic plague. An affliction of tumors was also visited upon the people of Gath and Ekron. Wherever the ark, wherever they put the ark. And so, you know, so basically the Philistines at some point, they said, okay, the diviners of Philistine, the Philistines said, we need to give this crap back to Israel, okay? We need to get this
you
out.
You can have it.
Yeah, you guys can have this back, okay? You know, but anyway, so basically they returned it. It was set up in the field of Joshua, the Beshemite. But the Beshemites, they started offering sacrifices and burnt offerings, trying to determine if it, you know, if they could like get power out of it. But out of curiosity, they gazed into the ark, and as punishment, 50,070 of them were struck down by the Lord. Kind of like the whole thing that happened with the Nazis. So they sent it the hell away to, but they it's taken to the house of Abinadab, whose son Eleazar was sanctified to keep it, and it was there for 20 years. And under Saul, the ark was with the army before he met with Philistines, but the king was too impatient to consult it. Anyway, so they basically that place where it stayed, the house of Abinadab, because they honored it, because they followed the law, and because they kept themselves pure and while approaching it, and they did everything they were supposed to. Their house was actually very prosperous during this time. God blessed them to the extent that after Saul's death, you know, King Saul, and David became king. He wanted to bring the ark back, and that's where things got a little bit complicated. Okay, but they basically they removed the ark from Abinadab's house, and on the way to Zion, Uzzah, one of the drivers of the cart to carry the ark, they put it in an ox cart. You know, they didn't follow the law, which is the priests were supposed to carry it, and he was struck dead because he reached out to stable it, and the place was called Perez Uzzah, literally outburst against Uzzah. They name everything, man. I just like, oh, that guy died there. Okay, well, we need a name for this place. So, you know, all right. Anyway, but David suddenly feared it, and so, yep, it's like you were saying, Kate. Yep, somebody died. But they put it in the house of Obed Edom, the Gittite, instead of carrying it to Zion. It stayed there for 3 months. But God blessed the house of Obed Edom because the ark was there, and evidently they gave it the respect that it was due. And so David once again says, "Okay, we got to bring this back to Israel," but this time he had the ark brought to Zion. He had the Levites, the priest, who was supposed to carry it. He followed all the rules that he was supposed to be carrying in the first place. And this is not like a ritual thing. This was like God said to do it this way, and this is the way God wants it done. And so, but he he danced before the ark of the Lord and celebrated, and his wife was like, "You acting," he's like, "You look stupid when you did that," So,
but where does Indiana Jones come into the picture?
Indiana Jones doesn't come into the picture because Indiana Jones is a fictional account.
Oh.
All right. If you want me to get to Indiana Jones, we're a little ways away from that. Anyway, we're just giving the history of it, man. But anyway, so the ark was basically in Jerusalem all the way up to Josiah, and where the Babylonians came in, and it disappears from history. Okay, you want me to fast forward to there? All right, here we are. Anyway,
that was fast.
Well, I mean, I was kind of like giving the history of it, and you're like, "Oh, we're going to Indiana Jones. We need to get to the cool stuff." Okay, well, whatever, dude.
Well, we never talked about what's inside it, besides the commandments.
All obviously. Right, I assume you have a video for that, right?
Yeah, I got a video for that.
How did I know? All right, play it.
What was inside the Ark of the Covenant? We're going to answer that question. You can also discover more on gotquestions.org. Interestingly, the most complete inventory of the contents of the Ark of the Covenant is found in the New Testament. Hebrews 9:4 says that the most holy place had the gold-covered Ark of the Covenant. This ark contained the gold jar of manna, Aaron's staff that had budded, and the stone tablets of the covenant. At various times in Israel's history, it seems that various items were in the Ark of the Covenant. When God first gave Moses the instructions on building the ark, he said, "Put in the ark the tablets of the covenant law, which I will give you." Sometime during the wilderness wanderings, God commanded that a container of manna be added to the ark's cargo. Moses said to Aaron, "Take a jar and put an omer of manna in it. Then place it before the Lord to be kept for generations to come." As the Lord commanded Moses, Aaron put the manna with the tablets of the covenant law, so that it might be preserved. After the rebellion of Korah, God commanded the leader of each tribe of Israel to bring a staff to the tabernacle. The tribe of Levi bore Aaron's name. God instructed that the staffs be placed in the tabernacle overnight. The next morning, Aaron's rod had not only sprouted, but had budded, blossomed, and produced almonds, as a sign of God's blessing on the Levitical priesthood. God then said, "Put back Aaron's staff in front of the Ark of the Covenant law, to be kept as a sign to the rebellious." So by the time Israel reached the Promised Land, the Ark was associated with the items mentioned in Hebrews: the stone tablets, the jar of manna, and the staff of Aaron. When King Solomon's temple was finished, the king had the Ark of the Covenant, along with other tabernacle furnishings, brought to the new temple's dedication. At that time, the biblical historian notes that there was nothing in the ark except the 2 stone tablets that Moses had placed in it at Horeb. There are 2 possible ways to reconcile 1 Kings 8:9 with Hebrews 9:4. One is that the ark in Moses' time contained all 3 items mentioned in Hebrews. But by Solomon's time, hundreds of years later, only the stone tablets remained. The other items could have been removed in Eli's time by the men of Beth Shemesh, or by the Philistines before them, or by Solomon himself during the dedication of the temple. Another possibility is that the manna and the staff were not usually inside the Ark of the Covenant, but rather beside it. Moses placed the manna before the Lord, or in a sacred place before the Lord. Similarly, the staff was to be placed before the testimony, or permanently before the Ark of the Covenant. So it's possible they were not, strictly speaking, inside the ark. It's also quite possible that the jar of manna and Aaron's staff were carried inside the ark every time the ark was moved. When the ark was at rest in the most holy place, the manna and staff were placed beside or in front of the ark. But while the ark was in transit, the most practical place to carry the manna and the rod was inside the ark. That answers the question, what was inside the Ark of the Covenant? On our website, got questions.
Yeah, I know what this is going to do, right?
What?
Yeah. As soon as I said rod, I'm like, oh crap, this is just going to go juvenile, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway,
Aaron's rod produced.
Okay. There you go. All right. Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said. It bloomed. There you go. Anyway,
It budded.
All
right.
All right. Okay, so now we get to 587, Josiah's reign, and the Babylonians. This is right. I think this is right after Josiah's reign. Zedekiah took over. The Babylonians came in, and the Babylonians were okay. This is the kind of people Babylonians were. Okay. Zedekiah was warned by Jeremiah that this would happen, and he kind of ignored him, whatever. But when they captured Zedekiah, they put his eyes out after murdering his entire family in front of him. And then he put his eyes out. So that was the last thing he saw. And then they carried him into captivity, and they kept him there till he died. So that's...
Well, where you get this manna from? I mean, do you like go to Whole Foods, or where do you get it?
No, it was given by God to feed the Israelites when they didn't have a food source for a while. It was mannas and doves. That's what they subsisted on in the
I wonder what it tasted
wilderness.
like, you know?
Well, all we know is that they couldn't keep it overnight. It was like it would go bad overnight, so they had to eat it like eat their fill the day of. And it evidently you could roast it, you could do some other things with it, but they subsisted on manna for a while. We don't really know.
40 years you had to eat the same shit.
Well, that and doves, yeah, evidently. I'm sure they foraged, but you know, this was something that happened every morning. You know, it appeared on the ground, it fell overnight, and they would eat it, and it never seemed to get sick of it. So evidently, it was pretty tasty. I don't know, but they didn't seem to get sick of it.
Well, what do I say now?
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know what you said. Probably about Aaron's rod producing. I don't know.
What's wrong with that? It said that in the video.
Yeah, Nebuchadnezzar, Babylonians, Crüe. He actually had lycanthropy for a little while. He grew his hair long. His hair, hair grew long, and he lived in the wilderness for a little while, which was a curse from God. Anyway, but that's in Daniel. But anyway, so 587. The Babylonians come in. They wipe out the royal line of Israel. They take them into captivity. During this time, they raided the temple and evidently spoiled it. This was Solomon's temple, and the ark disappears from history. We have no active mention of the ark from that point on. So there's like a line where it says that they took royal implements in, but they don't specifically say the ark. But some people, this is where it gets interesting. This is where the theories kind of disperse. This is where the conspiracies happen. Okay. So hence our title right there, the conspiracy part. All right. Okay. So there's different theories involving what happened to the ark after that. Okay. And the theories seem to there seem to be like three primary theories. Okay. One of them is that Jeremiah himself took the ark out of the temple and put it in somewhere out in the Judean wilderness in a cave. Okay. This comes from one of the apocryphal books. I think it's the Second Maccabees or something like that. It's a curse from God. I've done that. Oh, well, you've done something to be cursed from God. Okay. No, I don't mean curse God. I mean curse from God. That's something entirely different. Anyway, I complained and sent birds, Belmont. Yeah. Anyway. Kings of Israel didn't take the hint when the prophets warned warning repeatedly. Yep, that's true. Kept temple holy things separately. Nebuchadnezzar then son messed with it, and the finger of God weighed on the scales. Knots when his intestines fell out of his gut. What are you talking about?
I don't know, man.
You're mixing several things up there. Yeah. You're talking about Belshazzar, when they took the implements of Israel out of the temple and they went and partied. And then a big finger showed up and marking on the wall, and they drug Daniel out of his retirement to give him they told him that you're waiting the balance and found wanting, your kingdom's divided, it's not going to stand, blah blah blah. And they were wiped out that night by the Persians. Anyway, I grew my hair long, living in the wilderness, it was fine. Oh, okay, all right, well, there you go. Him, it wasn't voluntary though. Anyway, anyway, intestines falling out of guts. Wasn't that Judas? No, Judas. There's some, when you hear hanged in the Bible, it doesn't mean that you were like hung by your neck until dead. Hanged in the Bible means you impaled. So that's what that was about. He impaled himself. Lovely the way to die. All right. Anyway. Okay, back to the subject at hand. Thank you guys.
Ark of the Covenant.
All right, Ark of the Covenant. Okay, so one of the accounts is that Jeremiah took it and hid it, and that it's still in a cave somewhere in the Judean mountains to be discovered later on. In Revelation seems to indicate that the temple, the Ark will be recovered at some point. So, when they set up the temple in Jerusalem, which Jerusalem doesn't currently have a temple. A lot of the things that are going to happen in the Revelations are going to happen when the Jews restore the temple, and the belief is that when they restore the temple, the Ark's going to be there for them to put in it. So that means it's got to be existing somewhere. So that's one of the theories, is that it's taken by Jeremiah and hidden in the hills somewhere before the temple fell to the Babylonians, because Jeremiah was telling people this was going to happen for a long time. So he knew this was going to happen. And so that's what people think. That's one of the theories. Okay. Another theory is that Solomon had a Ethiopian son with the Queen of Sheba, and his when he left to go back to his people, they took it with them, and that it dwelled in Ethiopia, in a chapel in Ethiopia. The Ethiopians still to this day claim that they have it, and they've showed it off to some people, but yeah, Levites are doing that, rebuilding the temple. Well, they can't really do it at the moment because the big Temple Mount is got the Dome of the Rock, which is a big old Muslim. It's not even a place of worship for them. It's basically, so Israelites can't build there. And so until the Dome of the Rock gets demolished, or until it gets appropriated by the Israelites, you probably won't see a temple there. Anyway, okay, yeah, Kate's got one of them underneath the temple in a cave. Yeah. There's a series of caves underneath Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And well, some of them lead underneath the Temple of the Rock, and they're not allowed to explore them. But one rabbi managed to get underneath the Temple of the Rock, into the cave system underneath the Temple of the Rock, and he said that there is a chamber under there that he was not able to access before it got out that what he was doing, and the Jewish press actually ratted him out, and suddenly there's a riot going on, and the Muslims like, oh my God, you're going to destroy our sacred spot, blah blah blah, and so they had to cancel it. But he says that there is chambers underneath the Temple of the Rock, where he thinks that the Ark is. That King Josiah put it there. for safety.
Did you hear about the other guy, Ron Wyatt, who supposedly found the ark, encountered 4 angels, and then they told him to take some blood and take the sample of blood, and you know what I mean, and it was Jesus's blood.
Okay, I have
heard
no
about
idea.
this?
No, I haven't heard of it. You got a video?
Yes, you definitely have to see this.
All right, play it.
Good evening, Ron. Thank you very much for all 3 for seminars. Wonderful, thank you. My question is that you said that you had the blood of our Lord examined by the Israelis.
That's correct.
What was their determination of that?
Okay. Now, we won't be able to take second questions. I'm sorry if you're on your second one, please just step out. I love you, but we're running out of time. Real quickly, okay. Dried blood is dead blood. Everybody knows that, all right? They can test the blood of the pharaohs, the mummies of the pharaohs, all right? There's certain things they can do. They cannot get a chromosome count by any method I'm familiar with, all right? Things keep changing. I don't profess to know everything. However, there's no way I know that you can get a chromosome count out of dead blood. You can get a DNA and some other things, but not a chromosome count, all right? That's done by living white blood cells. Now then, first of all, in this analysis, I took the blood into a laboratory in Israel. I asked one of the people I work with in antiquities, where is a good laboratory that does reliable work? And they said, such and such, such and such. I took it. I just said, please examine this blood and tell me what you can tell me about it. All right? They said, well, look, we're going to reconstitute it. We're going to put it in normal saline and keep it at body temperature for 72 hours with gentle swirling. All right, that's their business. That's great. I said, now I want to be there when you check it out. They said, fine. So I was back. They checked it out. I said, now, they said it's human blood. We can tell that. They did whatever tests they need to do. And then I said, take some of the white blood cells and put them in a growth medium and keep them at body temperature for 48 hours. And they said, well, that'll do no good because it's dead blood. I said, would you please do that for me? And they said, okay, we'll do it. So anyway, I said, I want to be there when you take it out and examine it. So I was back there. They took it out, examined it under a microscope, and the one technician called the other one over there, and then they called the boss over there, and they were talking Hebrew a mile a minute there for a little bit, and they looked at me and they said, Mr. Wyatt, this human blood only has 24 chromosomes in it. Everybody else has 46. You see, 23 from your mother, 23 from your father, 22 autosomes from your mother, 22 autosomes from your father. You get an X from your mother, you may get an X or a Y from your father, all right? This blood had 23 chromosomes from the mother's side, one Y chromosome only. You see, the child could not have developed if they hadn't had the autosomes from the mother. So all of his physical characteristics were determined by his mother's side of the family, her autosomes. His maleness was determined by this one Y that came from a source, not a human male. Then they said, this blood is alive. And then they said, whose blood is this? I said, it's the blood of your Messiah.
Well, whatever he's doing, he certainly believes it.
I believe he's passed away since. But he's
yeah,
like,
it looks pretty old, but anyway, yeah, whatever it is, he certainly believed it. So if there's
it's an interesting
documentation,
story. You know what I mean? I don't
well, I
know.
mean, first documentation, I'd love to see it, but who knows? I mean, there's things that we are that get covered up and get glossed over and get disproven, blah blah blah. So the Antichrist is not Donald Trump. No, because there's too many people that dislike him. If the Antichrist is going to be universally beloved, if somebody comes onto the scene that everybody likes, that's when your antenna should go up. All right.
Yeah, it's not going to be me.
No, it's not going to be me either. All right. Anyway, Jason Black says, "Is there an alien theory?" Knowing you, there's probably an alien theory, right? Somewhere, probably.
I don't have an alien one for this one.
There's no alien theory for this one. Wow.
No, it's just God.
All right,
being
yeah.
God.
This God being God. Okay, all right. Anyway, yeah. all right. So there has been theories over the years. There was a crusade theory where that the Crusaders had taken it back to England, and eventually that it found its way to the New World. And so there's actually a theory that the Ark of the Covenant's in America somewhere, probably taken by the Freemasons and buried or hidden, probably in the Smithsonian somewhere.
It can also be in Oak Island.
Oak Island.
The Knights of the Templar could have took it there.
I think Oak Island's more like pirate treasure. I don't think so.
I don't know. It's one hell of a site, man. All that stuff they did, all that work, making that man-made swamp, and
right. I don't know. Are we going to do Oak Island at some point?
Yeah, that's going to be one on my list.
I thought so. Anyway, Googling what happens if you have less chromosomes. You're probably gonna well, if you have too many chromosomes, you turn on it's Down syndrome. So I don't know. Israel never accept a born king savior unless it descends from the sky. They want to pick their ruler. It's politics. I get you. I agree. Antichrist will also enter the rebuilt temple and declare himself God. Dead giveaway. Yeah, that happens. But we blood sacrifice on the mercy seat. Right. Okay, so about the power that the ark seemed to indicate. Do you have the sequence from the temple?
No, because we'll get struck for that.
Well, I happen to have it. If you want to see it,
I already tried to upload it, and it said that it's not content. It's basically they'll just make us delete it and cut it out later.
Oh, okay. All right. So you checked it. All right. No big deal.
Yes.
Anyway, Morningstar says a bummer was loved by the world, not circumcised as devout Muslim and married a man. Antichrist. No. Obama is loved by the world, but he's not loved universally. The Antichrist. There are plenty of people in America that do not love Obama, including you, evidently. Anyway, there's a bunch of conditions. If you have more, only one I'm seeing less is Turner syndrome, which only affects women. Well,
I don't know that does like him, actually.
Yeah. Well, no, he's not universally beloved at all. I watched that One More Dead Before They Find Treasure, Oak Island. Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah. So
you just throw one of his kids down in the money pit and let's find that treasure.
Right. Yeah. There's plenty of people that try to find it. But basically, the Antichrist is going to enter to the rebuilt temple. The temple has to be rebuilt first, and the dome with the rock sitting right there. And the only way that the dome of rock has to be either repurposed or it has to be removed for them to rebuild the temple, because it's sitting right where the temple would be, which is why it was built. It was built to make sure that the Jews could never have their temple there. And so, yeah. So until that happens, until you see the Dome of Rock get either demolished or repurposed, we have nothing to worry about.
That was a power move, man. Putting that shit right in the way.
Yeah, it is. It was. Anyway, it happened during the, I guess, early part of the Muslim faith, pretty much. Anyway, the beast marking is a palmistry marking found in the palm lines of every primate. They have palm lines like people. If your pattern lines match theirs, then you're a beast in nature. Yeah, evidently, Morning Star has got a lot of stuff going on over there. There's a bunch of conditions. If you have more, only one I'm seeing for Alexis Turner syndrome only affects women. I don't know. Crüe says it's not the end of the world, but you can see it from here. That's possibility. Anyway, all right. So, evidently, Kate saw something. She's saying "boo." Okay, all right. Anyway, okay. So basically, where the ark, there's several possibilities for where the ark is now. So if you review them, it could be in Ethiopia, it could be in the caves surrounding Jerusalem and Jerusalem hills. And we know from the Dead Sea Scrolls that they did squirrel away some pretty important stuff up there.
Yeah, I got a video about that shows the Ethiopia site where it's supposedly held. You should check this out real quick.
All right, crank it.
So today is St. Mary's Day?
Yes, it's a church built by Greek architect, 1960s. Queen Elizabeth II was invited by Emperor Haile Selassie for the inauguration of this church.
And what's the name? The name is?
Mariam Zion. Mary Zion.
It's quite impressive. So this is a special day, not always they have this.
No. And here you have the cathedral from Gondorian time.
Yes.
Where it used to be the Chapel of the Ark, the cathedral. And now it's under restoration. And the one with white plastic on the top.
Yes.
There's a Chapel of the Ark of the Covenant where the real Ark of the Covenant is supposed to be.
Many countries claim that they have the Ark of the Covenant.
Right.
So you say that it is in there, right?
Yeah, because there is a very strong tradition that still Ethiopian practice Ark of the Covenant.
Okay.
Habitáculo aquí que en teoría supuestamente es donde ahora mismo está, aunque hay muchos países que claman tenerla en algún sitio. Entre ellos Italia, Irlanda, muchos países que...
Alrighty.
Can you translate for me?
Yeah. No, I cannot. Essentially, it's just like, the Ark of the Covenant is there in Ethiopia. There. Okay.
If you don't believe it, fuck you. That's what he said.
No, I guess I don't know. I don't know how to use that language, but okay. Two witnesses, Father and Son, both kept testament, the new and the old. This is more your kind of revelation. Okay. Anyway. Let's see. Myth and chromosomes will make you short with the limited development. You'll be limited to what chromosomes you have to develop from. Okay, Jason Black. Unless you believe that there is a divine, there was a divine element to Jesus's birth, which you obviously do not. So that's pretty much what he was talking about. I see a camera on the side of the building. Okay, I didn't see it anyway.
Security.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are now more things. The Ark of the Covenant is a very powerful artifact. It was represented God's presence on the earth. It represented physical belief, artifact-based belief in Jerusalem, for the Jews. So the disappearance of it, would be like a transition for the Jews. When they came back under Ezra, they didn't have the Ark of the Covenant, so it was more their beliefs were more located, around the temple, as it were. But then Christianity comes in, and Christianity says that the temple of God is with man, and so the Christians are completely faith-based. They're completely weaned off of the temple, weaned off of everything else, and completely, totally priesthood of the believer. except for the Catholic Church. The Catholic still pretty much church based, but according to Revelations, the time will come that the temple is going to be rebuilt, and the fact that the ark kind of disappeared from history means that at some point we might see it reappear into history, and so then, yeah, Immaculate Conception's astrology reference born of heaven, born through the Virgin star constellation Virgo, Virgin clothing sun with the moon at her feet. Okay, all right. Obviously, you know some eschatology. There you go. Anyway, but so at some point, the ark may reappear, may come back in, and all right, Morning Star, no problem, man. You know, that's fine, buddy. I'm not that's teach his own, man. We're not espousing either way here. Anyway, so I have a philosophical discussion over here. Anyway, but the temple gets rebuilt, and there's a lot of scholars that think that the ark at that time is going to be discovered, you know, and restored to the temple, which will make to concentrate the temple for the Jews, and will pretty much set everything into motion that happens last half of Revelations. I think it is about the last half. The back half of the Revelations is quite a thrill ride.
Who's your bet on the Antichrist?
I don't really have a bet. But if somebody shows up that everybody just genuinely adores automatically, I'm not going to kiss his ring. Okay.
Not Dr. Oz, is it?
No, it's not Dr. Oz. He's not universally beloved. Trust me. If he's universally beloved, then he would have been able to beat the zombie in Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, that's right. He lost.
Yeah, he lost to that guy. Sinners, heathens. Oops, there I go. Bible bashing. Goodness gracious, we're getting like starting to have theological discussions over here. If you wanted to speculate, God could put in another chromosome. Sometimes hand waving like that works because proving or disproving the thing doesn't say anything about the other claims. Yeah, I got you. Morning Star says, I support freedom of religion. If you want to worship the great grasshopper, then just don't use it to write laws when everyone else has to follow. Okay, fair enough. Fact, ancient people did crazy, weird, interesting, mysterious things with boxes. Yes, they did. Anyway, before we deteriorate into holy war over here, I think we should probably call this a day. Anyway, so that has been Cannabis and Conspiracies. All we do here is we report on the facts, reveal things to you that you may not know, and we don't make up our minds. We give you the facts to let you make up your mind. Because here at the Cannabis and Conspiracies, the truth is high. So
thanks for coming, guys.
Bye, everybody.
See you next week.
Headline Division, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
When I was in England, I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale, and never tried it again.